Hello everyone, this is Rubisk again, and welcome to me continuing to talk about randomizers and especially the /spreadplayers command. So last time I showed you this randomizer, and this randomizer is pretty good. It's 20 Hz. The nice thing about this randomizer is that it allows you to directly edit the commands you're using, and therefore you can just very simple put down extra command blocks. You can disable them by just putting a redstone block down. You can it also gives a nice visual guide of what's being triggered and what's not. You can trigger up to 4 command blocks per um, block, well, yeah, like that. So that's really good. It takes only 2 seconds to start up, two ticks, sorry. If you From the moment this is being set to a block, it takes 2 ticks for the first command block to trigger, which I think is pretty nice. So some people had some questions, and I think I'm gonna go about explaining how these player commands actually works and why it is an actual way of randomizing. So first let's go over the syntaxes of /spreadplayers. Now, /spreadplayers and then X and Z. X and Z are the middle block you're spreading around. So, for example, in this case, the X and Z are this block, which is -3 and 13, which you can see over there, over here. And I'm spreading around that block. Then spread distance is the distance between each team or entity being spread. So this is basically some sort of minimum distance for parts. So if I were to clone 2 armor stands, I could set the spread distance to say 5, and they'd be spaced at least 5 blocks apart. Then max range. This is the range from the exact coordinates you're spreading to the edge of the spread, and I'll talk about that later in a sec. Then respect teams true or false, whether or not teams should be spread like one entity. So it basically takes an entire team as one entity, and then this is basically your selector. So whatever you want to spread, this can be at A, at E, at E type equals armor stand, etc. So one thing somebody asked me about is that they set up a clock and they weren't actually getting proper results because they were using a command like this. They were spreading around block, which is over here, 111. You can see it right there, and with a range of 1, and then just one entity, which is that armor stand. And then they were triggering random command blocks. Now these command blocks all add to a specific value. I listed them here. As you can see, the middle block gets triggered twice as much as those 4 blocks, and then the 4 blocks on the edges get triggered twice as less as the middle, as those side blocks. And so basically what the guy was saying was like, Spreadplayers isn't truly random, it favors the middle. That's not actually true. What's going on here is something a little bit different. And first, let me show you this. Like, I'm spreading around 111, but when I look down here, I'm actually spreading around 1.5, 11.5. That is because I'm not spreading around 1.0, 11.0. If you look up here, 1.0, 11.0 is around here. So, wait, it's around here, yes. So, instead of spreading around here, I'm spreading around here, which is the center of the block. And then I'm spreading with a range of 1. So I'm spreading exactly 1 block in every direction, which is somewhere up to here, and somewhere down to around here, and somewhere up to around here, and here. So there's basically a 2x2 square centered around the middle of this block, and not a 3x3 around the entire thing. However, all command blocks are able to trigger. Now, the reason for that is that just like TPs, you spread in a different way than might seem logical. You don't spread aligned to the grid. So what the game does is it's actually spreading somewhere in this 2x2 um, square that isn't actually aligned to the Minecraft grid, and then after it's spread, so let's say it spread me to 1.7 and then 10.4, yes, then it aligns me to the block, so it will say, well, you go here. And because it's a 2x2 square, this square is fully covered, but those squares on the sides are only covered by half, and those on the edges are only covered for a quarter. So this block gets triggered 2 times as much as those blocks, which get triggered 2 times as much as those blocks. Yeah, it took a while to figure that out. So what you can do is set the spread distance to 1.5, which I've done over here. Let me get that started. And as you can see, with a spread distance of 1.5 around this block, all directions are actually the same, because I'm now spreading in a 3x3 grid, and so every block has the same chance of updating. Also, what it means is that you can actually spread for even coordinates using something like a 0.0, which I've done over here. Here I'm spreading around 13.0, 13.0, which is exactly, let's see, over here, basically at this line. And then I'm spreading in a range of 3, so I spread either 3 blocks this way and up to 3 blocks this way. So I spread perfectly between the bounds. And what that does is it allows for an even spread players without having to do fancy stuff. And another thing with this setup I'm using here is that you only need one entity to loop over your entire game. So I've set up 3 randomizers over here, and basically all those 3 randomizers run using this entity, because I'm spreading it and I'm teleporting it, I'm setting the block commands, and then the next clock triggers, which is setting and then teleporting, etc. And then this clock triggers, and then it renders. So I'm actually only rendering 1 armor stand, but there's actually one doing the same over here, which is the exact same armor stand. But since ticks are calculated basically instant for the game renderer, it will only render at the end of the tick, so you'll only see it over here, but it's actually pathing through those 2 blocks as well. And so, especially if you have like 20 or 30 randomizers, having only one entity is pretty cool. Okay, so another thing someone said was that my randomizer will get very big once you get multiple. Well, for one, you can use binary randomizers, so you can hook up 2 yes, no randomizers, or hook up 2 randomizers with 4 options would create a total of 16 options, etc. And hooking up 2 would create 4, which is not really all that good, 2 twos, but 8 twos would create 2 3 8, which is 256 options using just 8 command blocks. You'd need 4 randomizers then. No, 8 randomizers, 2 options each. But that's 16 command blocks for 256 options, and then you can immediately get the output. You don't need to do anything fancy, tracking for any score or anything. You can just directly grab the output. So yeah, I think I went over everything I wanted to say. Another thing you can do to increase the amount of command blocks you're triggering is you can not align to an axis and just make a square like this. Well, yeah, like somewhat like that, and then just spread for the entire square, and that will work as well. Basically what I'm doing over here, but then like 5x5 or 7x7 or whatever you want. And that way you can check for multiple values for like big randomizers. But one thing I wanted to say is that since you're spread around a specific coordinate, you can actually spread at say 10.7 and then one um, one in every direction, and then you'd say like, well, if I go to 1, I'll basically make a square that's like for 60% in this block and for 40% in this block, something like that. And then that way there's a 60% for it to trigger here and a 40% chance for it to trigger here. And so you don't need to set up 20 command blocks to get all of these chance, or to have not a 50-50. You can just align the spread players however you want to trigger with a specific chance, which is really neat. And the nice thing about this is that if you're looking for like something like this chance, since we're actually spreading using the Minecraft coordinate system, and I think there's more coordinates in this. If you teleport, there's actually some more. You can like randomize up to 9 or 10 digits, which is a whole lot. So you can get pretty accurate randomizers, and so you can like have a 1 in a million chance or something for something extremely rare to happen if you wanted to, which is kind of hard to do using dispensers having a 1 in a million chance, but using spread players it's actually possible. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say about spread players, and I hope you get a better idea about how exactly spread players works. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.